This podcast is called Obsessed. Joseph Scrimshaw and his guest get some secrets off their chest. You should listen. It's the best.
Hello and welcome to Obsessed with Joseph Scrimshaw on Feral Audio. I am your host. I am still Joseph Scrimshaw. This week's episode is very relaxed, very creative, totally centered with the universe, and a little bit paranoid, because it is all about weed, with my old friend, comedian, musician, and marijuana aficionado, Courtney McClean. As always, you also hear our co-producer, Sarah Meyer, interviewing random human beings around Los Angeles and seeing how they feel about pot. Do they smoke it? Do they eat it? Do they vape it? Do they think it's super funny and awesome when they stay in a hotel and their room number is 420? We will find out. But first, I'd like to share a very special memory of my own about weed. I myself have never been super into it. I've tried it a few times and it just didn't have much of an effect, and it seemed like it would just cut into my whiskey time. So I'm not the best person to try to sell marijuana to, but I must look like I am, because over the years, many people have approached me in random places, convinced that, of course, that guy wants to buy marijuana. My very favorite attempted marijuana sale happened in Jamaica. My wife Sarah and I were there several years ago. It was one of the ports of call for the very first Jonathan Colton Joko cruise. And as is the way of many ports of call, the people there made money by selling stuff to tourists. And a lot of it was just like little carvings or baubles or whatever. But then one person pointed at me and said, "Hey, Bob Marley." Bob Marley? And for a moment, I did not know what was being communicated to me. I thought maybe this person was trying to sell me like a best of Bob Marley CD, and then I realized, no, you're an idiot, Scrimshaw. Bob Marley means marijuana. And for the next several hours of our visit, several people popped up saying, "Bob Marley? Bob Marley?" At one point, we were walking by a fence, and like a wacky neighbor on a sitcom, a person's head just popped over the fence and said, "Bob Marley? Bob Marley?" Now, in researching this, I just read that there is a company selling Bob Marley branded marijuana, but like I said, this was years ago, and it seemed to me from my outside perspective that Bob Marley was just the fastest, most efficient way to say, "Hey, you stupid tourist, do you want to take some marijuana and try to smuggle it back onto your big dumb cruise ship?" And perhaps sadly, I did not engage in that adventure, but over the years, I have found myself wondering what other artists are so strongly associated with a product that you could sell it to people by just shouting their name. Could you sell someone a martini by just popping over a fence and saying, "Ian Fleming? Ian Fleming?" Would you know you were being offered meth if someone was just like, "Bryan Cranston? Bryan Cranston?" Not that it's a drug, but could someone sell me eyeliner by just yelling, "Johnny Depp? Johnny Depp?" And the question that truly haunts me as an artist and a human being, when I am dead and gone, and someone wanting to sell something to another human being says, "Joseph Scrimshaw? Joseph Scrimshaw?" If that ever happened, if I were so lucky, what is it that they would be selling? Feel free to tweet me at Joseph Scrimshaw with your thoughts. But enough about me, on to the part of the podcast that is so thrilling no one would ever dare fast forward through it. The plugs. If you enjoy Obsessed Podcasts, you can support us by becoming a backer on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get access to our monthly patron-only bonus episodes of Obsessed. We just released a fun discussion of the movie Star Trek Beyond with me and Audrey Kearns, so if you are interested, full info is on patreon.com/Joseph Scrimshaw. Or you can support all of the artists on the Feral Audio Podcast Collective by shopping at Amazon through our portal. Just go to feralaudio.com, click the Support Our Artists button, and go buy anything on Amazon, and some of the money will go to supporting Feral Audio. It does not matter what you buy on Amazon. This week, I'm recommending you buy Bob Marley's Greatest Hits 2 CD set, because he didn't just smoke weed, he was a musical genius. Shows! I do shows! The next edition of my comedy game show about pop culture with my pal Hal Lublin called Headcanon is happening in Los Angeles on Friday, August 5th at Nerd Melt with special guests Travis McElroy, Clark Wolf, and Mark Ellis. Plus, I'll be a guest at DragonCon over the Labor Day weekend, and I'll be back in Minnesota in September for a new convention called the North Star Sci Film Fest. For tickets and full info on all my shows, go to josephscrimshaw.com/live-shows. But for now, sit back, relax, get out your favorite vape pen or bong, relax some more, and enjoy Courtney McClean's obsession with weed, man. Weed. welcome to Obsessed with me, Joseph Scrimshaw. I'm sitting in my home with an old friend, actor, comedian, musician, wonderful human being, Courtney McClean.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Joseph, for having me. Thanks for inviting me into your home.
Oh, yeah. I think it's always nice to invite people into your home instead of just saying, come to my door and we'll do a podcast through my door.
Yeah.
Don't come into my fucking house. I feel like that's a rude way to start.
I never even thought of that, but I think that is a podcast nobody's ever done, and everybody knows that every podcast has been done.
Yeah, I know.
So.
I should do a new one. I need a new one that
there
has
you go.
a new hook. And you just be like podcast hole. We can
Podcast
just
hole
come
through
to
a door.
to the glory podcast hole in my
you
door.
poke the mic through the hole, yeah.
Put your ideas through the hole and we'll record a podcast. Creepy town.
Yeah.
But you are here to talk about marijuana weed.
Marijuana and weed.
But before we get into that, I realized, can you tell people like who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Courtney McClean. I am a comedic musician or musical comedian and storyteller as well. So I play the banjo and I play dirty comedy bluegrass music for the bulk of my performance.
Yeah.
Stuffs.
And to give people like kind of listening a little bit of background on us, Courtney and I worked together back when we both lived in Minnesota. We were in the Fringe Festival at the same time in that sort of community, and then also in a group called Rockstar Storytellers where we would tell stories. And then you found your true passion, singing very, very naughty songs with a banjo.
Yeah, totally. It's something I've been like shaping and crafting lately and like sort of like lining up my values and being like, how can I make this better, more in line with more values of mine?
Yeah.
So I'm excited for like a new round of story or songwriting.
Cool.
With it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome to see when the Naughty Billy, as you call it, right? Naughty Billy?
Yeah.
It was cool to see that emerge because it was fun to watch somebody kind of crystallize into like, these are several of my talents and interests coming together at once.
Yeah.
Because you have a beautiful singing voice.
Thank you.
And it's always funnier when you say something filthy and funny and it's coming out of incredibly beautiful mouth. Beautiful song mouth.
It's all, that general area is just beautiful. Thank you. Yeah,
I meant
totally.
more the noise than your actual mouth, but your actual mouth is lovely.
Yeah, I like that juxtaposition of opposites.
Yeah.
And that's why it was, my name is Courtney McClean, but I added an extra C in there to be Courtney McClean, and the Dirty Curls, which was my band. And then also because there's already a Courtney McClean with one C in the Screen Actors Guild. And now that I'm in Los Angeles, I actually have to be McClean, which I am kind of annoyed by. But anyway, that's
McClean with M-A-C?
No, M-C-C-L-E-A-N, which is how I
Okay.
choose to do it. But I think maybe M-A-C is way better. M-A-C, because that's like the original Scottish spelling.
Yeah.
And then, so maybe I can change that.
Okay, cool.
I don't know.
Let's get into your obsession. Courtney McClean.
Oh my God, are you my hypnotherapist? That's what my hypnotherapist says.
Really?
Yes.
Does therapy feel like a podcast?
No, but she just says, okay, let's start your session. After we've been talking for an hour, and then she's like, let's start your session. I'm like, what have we been doing?
I feel like we're old friends, so I don't have to be like smooth with my segues. I can just go right into it. Like, all right, let's do this now. So here's my first actual question.
Go.
What do you call the substance that we're going to talk about? Is it marijuana to you? Is it weed? Is it pot? Do you ever say doobie?
I say it all. Yeah, it's
say it all, baby.
It's a chicken lasagna, birthday magic.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, my friend Jenny and I used to call it chicken lasagna. That was just sort of a random thing. I don't know where that came from. But birthday magic came from the morning after my 28th birthday. My buddy Brett and I went down to the pharmacy on the corner of 114th and First.
And this is New York, I take it?
This is in New York, East 114th and First. And we go to this pharmacy to grab some Advil for my friend who's having a very difficult morning. And we found like a dime bag on the floor of marijuana weed pot.
Just on the sidewalk?
In the pharmacy.
Oh, in the pharmacy?
Yeah, in the pharmacy. And Brett was like...
It's a pharmaceutical.
Oh, yeah. Brett was like, oh my God, birthday magic. But this was, it was my 28th birthday,
Okay.
so it was 2 years ago.
So you don't feel like there is any qualitative difference, like people will debate like nerd and geek mean slightly different things. So you don't feel like, do you feel like there's like a difference between like when you hear somebody say pot, you're like, well, you should actually be saying weed in this context, or it has this.
No, I don't make that sort of differentiation with those. It's all the same stuff. Now, like ditchweed that is a lower grade specifically.
Yeah. Well, that seems like a value judgment.
Right, yeah. But like weed, pot, marijuana, that's...
Do I sound like...
But shake is different than bud.
Okay, because that's describing the actual physical part of a joint, correct?
Well, not necessarily a joint. Like shake is usually just like the loose parts of flower.
Okay.
And the flower is the bud.
So, but is marijuana on hip? If I like came to you and said, Courtney, I would like to talk to you about marijuana, would you feel like, God, he's got to stick up his ass?
Oh, because you say the word marijuana?
Well, yeah, is marijuana on hip?
I'd say it's a little belabored. I mean, why are you like... Just because I'm a pothead doesn't mean I'm not efficient.
Right.
So, yeah, pot or weed is usually just easier to say.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I think that's a fair one.
But yeah, I mean, if you come up to me and say, do you have any marijuana? I might be like, what are you, a narc?
Yeah, I would like to borrow a marijuana cigarette.
Yeah.
Do you have a preferred term between stoned, baked, whatever, for the...
Yes.
Effect on yourself?
Medicated.
Medicated.
I like medicated because I feel like it lends it some legitimacy. But also because, I mean, that's what they call it. That's what they call it at all the dispensaries because California is a medical state. It's not technically legal here.
But you can get a medical marijuana card real easy.
Yeah. My doctor did not even look me in the eye. It wasn't like my doctor either. It was just like this weed doctor I went to.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Nick, from The Simpsons,
Oh, sure. Yep. I assume so. I see. When I was thinking about coming on this podcast, and I'm like, God, I wish I was more obsessed with anything than I am. Like, I feel like I dabble in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, my doctor didn't even look me in the eye when I got my...
Did you say, here's what's wrong with me, that I need marijuana? And what did you say?
Well, I believe my reasons are legitimate. I suffer from depression and anxiety.
Okay.
Now, I figured out, because I also take antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds. I take Paxil, 20 milligrams. I like to talk about it because I don't want to be ashamed about it.
Right.
I think it's something a lot of people are going through these days. And also because I feel like my father could really use an anti-anxiety thing, but for our parents' generation, it's like so much more taboo.
Right. That's like admitting weakness.
Right. Yeah. So many things. So my mom doesn't understand. She's like, well, why do you take that and also the marijuana for that? And I'm like, well, the antidepressant makes me not want to kill myself. The marijuana it helps me get through day to day, and it helps me be more creative sometimes, things like that. Anyway.
So medicated, is that your own term, or is that a term that the marijuana users use?
That is a term that is definitely a term that people use in the industry.
Okay.
In the green industry, the marijuana industry.
So do people really say like, oh, I'm so medicated? Does it have like a hip connotation, or is it like a wink, wink, nod, nod thing?
No, it's like a legitimate connotation. It's like when you come into a dispensary, they'll ask you, how do you like to medicate?
Okay.
So and you know what? It's the people that are like, I'm so baked right now. You're just like, shut the fuck up.
Okay.
You just, I feel like it's a way of living life now.
Okay.
That is much more legitimized through it being legalized and
right. Right. And I have friends who just use it because they have insomnia.
Yeah.
And it seems like there is a lot more use of it in very specific medical ways and not just recreational.
Yeah, absolutely. They're finding that the plant has so many properties to it that are medicinal, like, stress and anxiety, insomnia, not just glaucoma and stuff, but there's pain, obviously. Eating disorders.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you remember your first experience with marijuana.
I sure do, Joseph. Yeah, I was 18. I didn't try pot until I was in college.
Okay. Were you drinking? Had you already started drinking?
I don't know. I doubt it because
Okay.
actually I had a really hard time getting used to alcohol and I didn't finish my first beer till I was 21.
Okay.
So I was definitely smoking pot before I started drinking.
Okay, cool.
And so I had a couple of friends who were from Northern California. I went to UC San Diego.
Okay.
And so they had already been smoking pot and were experienced with it. And I remember, I'm not sure exactly what we smoked out of, but it was probably this long ceramic blue pipe that had like these white ceramic eyes on it. And so it looked like it was going, ooh, and like its mouth was in an O shaped. So I just remember at one point realizing that I couldn't not live in the now.
Okay.
Like I couldn't remember the immediate past or it just felt like I could feel time barreling forward.
When you had...
When I was, my first...
When you were medicated.
When I was
for the first
stoned
time.
for the first time.
When you were stoned for the first time.
Back then it was stoned because it was, the mid-90s. So,
Yeah.
no.
So did you have any hesitation when your friends were like, hey, we're going to smoke out of this weird long blue-faced, O-faced man? Did you have any like, I don't know if I want to do that? Or were you like totally like, no, I'm all on board for this?
I don't remember where the jump over the gap was, but it was a week before that. I had a little bit of a cold and there was a guy named Ben at my job who wasn't a white guy with dreads, but he was a white guy with like one of those crocheted Rasta hats. Mm-hmm. And he had this really tight curly blonde hair and this cute little he was like a little beaver. That's like what he looked like little squinty eyes. Anyway, and he was a couple of years older than me and I had a little bit of a cold and he's like, what'll take care of that? And then he puts his hand up in the motion of smoking a pipe and he goes, makes this little like his hand is moving in a circle like he's with the lighter.
And did you just think, what is this beaver man miming at me?
No, I was such a little goody two shoes, and I was like, I don't do that. I really was. And then literally the next week,
okay,
I don't remember my feelings immediately before doing it. Yeah. I just remember being like.
But as soon as you did it, you felt like time was moving differently, and you were like, "This is awesome."
Well,
I should look into this.
Actually, what happened was it was like moment to moment to moment, and then the next moment, I remember crying. And the moment after that, I remember my friends being huddled around me and like hugging me and calming me down. And then the moment after that, I remember being like, why are all these people around me? It was weird, but I definitely felt it my first time. You get a lot of people who were like, I never feel it my first time. I was high my first time. Okay. But it was a very, very long time afterwards when I became a chronic user. I've only been a chronic user for a little over 4 years.
Okay. But when you look back at that first time, it was a lot of different emotions to it. Is it mostly like a positive memory?
Yeah.
Of when you met your friend for the first time?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a positive memory.
Okay.
I do remember still, I had a lot of hangups and still have a lot of hangups about it. I have a lot of guilt around all the smoking that I do. And I really feel like, I'm like, that's probably what affects me the most. Yeah. I'm just like, just let go of that. Like, who gives a fuck? But it was something that it wasn't like I thought it was bad, but when one of my roommates started smoking every day, and it wasn't like she was waking and baking, but she would smoke pot every day, and I was like, you are smoking a lot of weed. I don't think this is good. And like one of my directors of one of my one-woman shows was smoking weed before rehearsal. And I'd be like, I'm really uncomfortable with you, smoking this much weed and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, Courtney, don't worry about it. Like it makes it better for me.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really understand the other side of that. Now, there's still moderation and there's still like you can't overdose on pot like heroin, like you're going
Right.
to be sent to the hospital, but you can definitely overdose to the point where you're like in your couch and aren't doing anything.
Not on your couch.
Yeah,
in your couch.
In your couch, like okay.
That is a nice poetic way to say it. I am inside my own couch.
It's the mnemonic is indica into couch.
Okay.
And sativa is the brain one, where indica is the body one.
Okay.
So anyway, but that's another place. But yeah, so that's your overdosing. Why was I telling you that part? I don't know.
I'm curious about the chronic. So
okay.
you tried it out. You met some other people who are using it more chronically, and you were like, meh.
Yeah.
And then you came around to it. When did you start using it? Why did you start using it chronically?
I think it was just like extra money and availability.
Yeah.
And strains were getting better. So I went, okay, so we are in a very exciting time for pot.
Right. Yes, we are.
It's like, it's awesome. Pot, to me, I used to want to be like a whiskey expert, and now I want to be a pot expert,
right.
where it's like, I know exactly what strains taste like. I'm beginning to learn what an indica looks like and what a sativa looks like, what the flowers actually look like. And flower is the word that they use now for what used to be called buds.
Okay.
It's like, so I went... Okay, so it took me a long time. I was smoking it very frequently when I lived in New York in the early 2000s, like mid-2000s. But when I got to Minnesota, it wasn't every day, but it was definitely when I would have it, I would smoke it every day. I wouldn't necessarily wake and bake. But it got to the point where I was working a desk job for a very long time. Okay, here we go. Yes, I was working a desk job for a very long time, and it started where I just started smoking before I would go to work because the kind of work I was doing was not stimulating my mind, so I just sort of like decided to, chill out and just like, and I found like driving when I'm high, I don't have any road rage. I'm very relaxed, and it was just something like I wouldn't let people affect me as much.
Okay.
It almost was like I quote unquote didn't care as much.
Right. So it's a mix of the recreation and the coping.
Yeah.
So recreation and medication.
Yep. Yeah.
Metacration.
Metacreation.
Yeah, because when we were spending a lot of time together in Minneapolis, we were doing Rockstar Storyteller stuff together.
I was constantly asking you if you wanted to get high with me.
You did, not constantly, but it was very much it seemed from the outside like a fun thing of like, usually a fun thing of like, we just did a fun show, now I'm going to go get high. Or if the show is kind of rocky or annoying, you'd be like, I'm going to get high. So it seemed like it would work either way. It would seem like it was offered as a party or offered as a balm, which makes sense to me as somebody who likes alcohol, because I use alcohol the same way of like, hey, great, it's a celebration, or that sucked.
Yeah.
This is my anti-celebration, my coping celebration.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think no matter what, I would do it after a show. It got to a point where I would start doing it before shows as well, which fucks with your comic timing a lot. With music, it's a lot easier because it's on its own timing.
Right.
But I would find when I would smoke before stories, unless I was super rehearsed in that story, it was not a good scene. So I would wait till afterwards. But I use it for all sorts of reasons.
Cool. Do you have a favorite, or do you think the world should have a favorite way of taking it in? Because I know that has changed a lot. You can just like the normal, like good old joint cigarette, bongs and pipes and vapes. Oh my!
There are so many edibles,
and now edibles.
I actually have had the pleasure of working at an edibles company for the past couple of months.
Cool. So you're there right now.
We are there. I am there right now, and we sell a breath spray.
Damn.
That has we sell a CBD kind and a THC kind.
Is it available as a face rub yet?
No.
Okay.
Although we do sell a skin serum, but that is under we make that, but it's actually under a different company. It's for a different company.
Cool.
Anyway,
So first I want to hear your favorite way of ingesting it, and then I want to talk more about the edibles.
My favorite way is probably just a good old joint.
Okay. Is that partially just like the physical action of taking it in? Because I used to be a smoker, and that's a part of it of just the taking in the sort of the deep breath with something with it.
Totally. That is absolutely more satisfying than a vape pen.
Okay.
And also because it's like you kind of I have a little bit better of an idea like how much I'm dosing myself, and because it's actual smoke, it is a different sort of high than vaping.
Okay. All right.
So, and I like that high better.
Cool. Okay, so you work at an edibles place. Mm-hmm. Edibles seems like has become huge, has become a thing. Like it used to just be like brownies, man. Yeah. And now, what all are edibles? Are they candies? Man. Are they lollipops? What are edibles?
Yes. I mean, basically, there's a lot of gummy candies, a lot of sour gummy candies that have been infused, like the apricot rings and the gummy worms and the gummy bears. There's brownies, there's drinks, like you can get like a tea that's got marijuana in it.
Okay.
There's basically anything that can be cooked with an oil or butter, anything. We also create a supercharged ghee. I work at Jumbo Superfoods is what the place is called. We create a supercharged ghee, which is essentially like a paleo, because our edibles are paleo.
Okay.
So it's like a paleo butter. So you can use it. You can use that to cook as well. And then, like I mentioned, the breath sprays we have.
So do the breath sprays, are they like peppermint, like they'll freshen your breath and get you high?
Yeah.
Like they function both ways?
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
You know who's a fan, Joseph? Joe Rogan. He's a huge fan of our stuff. And Doug Benson, of course.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Of course. That's awesome.
But, yeah.
Do you feel like, so a place like you're working has that you can get into it, you can understand it and study it in a sort of classy way, like whiskey or like craft beer or like any sort of like arts and crafts sort of like there's a lot to be studied and respect about this. Do you feel like that is a direct response to the slacker stereotype? That's like, no, we'll prove to you that it's not just about getting high and never getting up from your couch. Yeah. It can be this interesting, nuanced, intelligent thing.
Well, I think that is just a result of people, of it becoming more legal and people growing it and breeding different strains together. So then it's like you want to know what the different strains are.
Okay.
And I think then you also discover different strains do different things. So then it becomes a science.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like it becomes like, finding out fine whiskey or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think also I think something that's becoming very hip right now is microdosing.
Okay.
So microdosing not only psilocybin and like acid and stuff, like people taking miniature doses of that, but just knowing exactly how much weed gets you that much.
Okay.
And then getting through your day.
Are there micro joints, like just little tiny joints?
No. Maybe. I don't know, but that's what these little vape pens are for.
Okay, so you brought a little vape pen.
I brought a little vape pen.
Can I hold it?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's almost a little lightsaber-like.
Yeah, it's a little. So the bottom part of it is is technically a battery, and it has its USB charger, and then the top part of it is the cartridge, which with the hash oil in it.
Okay.
I don't exactly know how it burns, but it connects together somehow, and there's a charge.
There's like a heater in there or something.
Yeah. And then, so this is very handy because it's discreet, doesn't smell very much, and also it's something that like you can just take a little hit and it gets you pretty nice.
Living here in Los Angeles, when somebody says, hey, I'm going to go vape, do you just assume like, well, of course you mean weed? Of course you mean marijuana?
No.
Or do you think like, oh, do you mean like tobacco or do you mean like marijuana?
Yeah, I wouldn't know which one. I wouldn't assume. If they said I'm gonna go vape, I'd be like,
you're a narc.
I'd be like, no, you're really gonna go buy a Bud Light, No, I'm just kidding. But But yeah, no, if they did say that, I would ask them though, because I am kind of a mooch.
Okay.
And I would be like, oh, well, let me.
Well, maybe I
come
will
with you.
vape with you a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Do you want to share some of that?
So you're talking about all the strains and how there's getting to be this great advancement in it. There are a lot of different kinds. They do have very specific effects. So if you want to be very relaxed and go to sleep and blah, 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 you can get that.
I don't know if they're specific necessarily. There's a lot of overlap, but yeah, definitely like if you want to be more creative and a little more euphoric, then you know, there's a bunch of ones that fall into that category, but they have like little differences.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could create your own strain, like if you could work with a scientist and create your own strain, what would the effect be and what would you call it?
Great question, Joseph.
Thanks.
Holy shit. Man, I am a little more obsessed with weed than I thought. Okay, it would be up, giggly, chatty, creative.
Okay, so this would be go to a cocktail party.
Yeah, go to a party or sit down and do some writing, do some creating. Yeah, definitely an extroverted weed.
Okay.
But it would also last for like 2 hours or more, and it would very, very slowly wear off. And then by the time it wore off, you don't feel groggy or anything. And
This is a dealing with in-laws strain, it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it could definitely be that. It's living with your parents is what it is.
Okay, so it would make you giggly, happy, it would taper off in a lovely way, it would open you creatively. What would it be called?
Oh, it would be called like The Rainbow Connection.
I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Do all of the strains still have the very, very bizarre names? Is that like a part of what
Absolutely.
it is to make sure that you come up with just like, yeah, it's Banana Fucktown or whatever weird...
I actually had one the other day called Banana Ogre.
Close.
Yeah, totally. Very close. One of my favorite ones right now is Bubblegum Kush because it stinks like bubblegum. But Kush is a pretty common name. But yeah, there's so many Star Wars strains, Joseph.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
Their names like...
oh no, that's Jack Herrera. I have a Skywalker. There's
Okay.
Skywalker OG. There's Yoda. There's
Skywalker OG, that's great.
yeah.
Ooh, and that's very controversial because are you referring to Anakin Skywalker because he's technically the older Skywalker, or
Right.
are you talking about Luke Skywalker because that's the character we were introduced to first?
Exactly. I don't know.
And maybe don't
But,
care.
man, you know, it's a good strain. That's all
It's
I
a good
care
strain.
about.
Is there a strain called Django Fat?
Not yet.
Just because that just seems like a
What
Star
would the characteristics of that strain be, do you think?
you would be really mellow, and then your head would get cut off by Mace Windu.
Oh!
So I think it would be very mellow, and then have you would
That
get really
sounds
intense
like
at the end.
Psychedelic.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of the Star Wars names that sounded the most
Yeah,
like marijuana.
totally.
And actually,
Obi-Wan
most Star
Kenobi.
Wars names sound
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Darth Vader.
Salacious
like,
Crumb. Yeah, I could go on and on for hours and hours and hours. Now, I'm curious, you talk about it creatively. I'm curious how it's affected your art.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you as a storyteller. I know you as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen you super incorporate your weed love into your art.
Yeah, it's more like something that I will allude to. Like
Yes.
I have a dress that I wear sometimes that has marijuana, that has pot leaves all over it. And I wear that to perform. And I'm not shy about it, but it's definitely, it's not something that I'm like, but there is a song coming about sex on weed.
Okay.
Like for sure. But also because I just, choose, and other drugs too. I use it more as a tool than as than it is like something I talk about all the time, I guess.
I guess part of what I'm wondering is there is I don't want to say necessary evil. That's a little too harsh. I think a lot of times as performers, especially independent performers, you take something real from your life and you broadcast that as part of your performer identity, and it becomes your
Yeah.
personal brand. And I don't think it's evil. I just think it's like people need a way to quickly identify you, remember you, put you in a box, and then if they're a fan of you, they'll enjoy the depths of who you can be.
Yeah.
But you have at different times embraced the fact that you have had lots of sex, that you're very sex positive, that you're open to sex as a part of your like personal brand, and that's some of where the dirty curls came from. So but you haven't done that with weed. So I guess I'm wondering if there's like a resistance to making weed a part of your personal brand.
No, I think that. Wait, maybe a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit, because it is something also that I'm always like want to pull away from sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of times I do. But then I think that really goes back to the guilt thing, because I'm kind of like, I just need to learn to dose myself a little less as well.
Okay.
Which I have been learning that the wand helps a lot. But why I don't incorporate it in, I just haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I think is like, because I might just, I really have enjoyed working at this place, and I kind of feel like I'm going to be looking for another job in edibles. So, I mean, because this is like the kind of day job that I want.
So you mostly just like, do people walk in from the street and you give them suggestions?
No, actually, I don't. I work in production and manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
I don't work in a dispensary. I work at a company that creates, I have a bag, but it's not a labeled bag of their stuff. But I work
black, non-labeled bag.
Yeah, right. So I bake these honey buns. Like, take a little whiff of that.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, it smells like bread and my neighborhood.
Yeah. So I help to bake these things, and then like we've been putting them in truffle trays and making them sure they're all
okay.
the
So
same
you
size.
are literally baking little weed buns.
I'm baking little weed buns. Joseph, I am literally seeing the process of these little weed buns from picking the flowers of marijuana off the stems and putting them in a bucket, to putting those in a blender, to putting the blended weed in the crock pots with the oil, with the coconut oil we use, and then pressing that, and after a few days of it cooking and sitting, pressing that, getting the weed oil out, and extracting the weed oil, and then somebody else, because I'm not advanced enough to actually bake the things, but they take the weed oil, mix it together, bake these suckers, or mix the batter together. We put the batter into the little trays, bake them, and then they come out, and then we've labeled these bags and we put them in the bag. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been doing.
You're almost the Betty Crocker of marijuana.
I am almost, Betty. There is a edibles company called Betty Chronic. Isn't that awesome?
Bacon with Betty.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay. So are you having like a spiritual connection to doing this? Like you're feeling like you're helping people, or is it just that you get to be close to something you love?
Yeah, a little column A, little column B. The people that I'm working for and the couple that created Jumbo, Joe and Shannon, are pretty cool. And they're definitely like spiritual, like Burning Man type people. Mm-hmm. But I think they're also very grounded as well. They're not like too like crazy. Like they have a great business sense.
Yeah.
And wait, what am I talking about?
Like why you enjoy the job.
Oh, yes, because of the characters, and also I get to be stoned on the job.
Okay.
Do
they encourage that? Do they say,
no,
you should be stoned if you're going to be baking these honey buns?
No, they don't encourage it. They're just fine with it. They understand that that's how people live their life, and that's like the reality that some people like to be in. They are like, they're like, you've been taking a lot of 20-minute breaks. Like that's something that they'll be okay, rein it in,
So if you could get super, super high without taking a 20-minute break, they'd be like, go for it.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, as long as you do your job and do it well, it's like I'm sure they would like us to be a little bit faster, but but it hasn't been too much of an issue.
So do you think they have that built in of we are totally accepting that people get high. It is not a stereotype that people slow down. Mm-hmm. So do you think they just have that built into their business model of like, on any given day, we might make 4 or 5, unless all of our employees are a little more stoned, then we'll only make 3.
Well, if it were like, if they're like, this is imperative that we get this out really soon, then we're aware of that and we do it.
Okay.
We do our jobs very well, like, and it's so repetitive. I mean, we're putting labels on bottles and stuff. It's a little mini factory is literally what it is. So it's like, and sometimes we're listening to music, so it's not like we're chatting and, so there's not a whole lot of lag, but I do notice sometimes that when I'm making the truffles, maybe I'll be like forming it a little too long. Like, I'm like stroking it and making it so smooth. And I'm like, Courtney, just wind it up. Yeah. Anyway.
Have you ever known a person in your life that you want them to start using marijuana?
Joseph, you? No.
We can talk. We can discuss. I'm intrigued by the mouth spray.
Well, oh, really?
Yeah, because I love anything when it's more ridiculous.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, good to know. Perhaps I wish I brought, because I do have a CBD spray of that.
If you can get me a Skywalker OG and a mouth spray, I will maybe try it.
I don't know that I can get that specifically, but who knows? Maybe I can. I'll see what I can do. You can have one of these honey buns if you want. I brought a few. So
go ahead and leave one, and we'll see. Yeah, I am always.
And Sarah, you guys got to take like a quarter of it each, and just like Netflix and chill,
right?
And just make a night at home, and
if you can get a precious night at home alone. Because I've always been much more alcohol, and I had the experience of I tried it 3 times and nothing happened, and then it just went on with life. But and then I think
I want to give you some of this little weed pen.
Well, I think it's very interesting because I think the whole culture of it is changing. Mm-hmm. And from my perception, it's definitely different in Los Angeles because of the medical marijuana card and because the people who are using it in 8 million different ways and just how often the smell is there, how often the discussions of it are there. And they are everything from the most cartoonish stoner person who isn't leaving the house because life's a bummer to the person who's like, no, I use this very specific thing in this very specific way because it truly helps me. So it's this interesting panorama of uses, and everybody's got their different ways that they take it in, the bags and the pipes and the bongs and the whatnots.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's so many options are out there. The thing with LA itself, Los Angeles, the city has some weird laws, and I don't know the specifics.
Yeah.
Something's happening on August 1st, or like I know that California is voting to make it legal in November.
Okay.
But there's something that Los Angeles has already opted out of. So I don't know the laws exactly, but so I am losing my job because they are moving up north to Santa Rosa.
Okay.
Where it is, where it's just the laws are a lot more lax.
So
like the
LA
city
is
laws.
cracking down on production, you think?
There's been raids. There's, and I don't know, they crack down on weird stuff and they're just sort of dicks about it.
Now, do you think just across the board in America, marijuana should be legal?
Yes.
For you, would it take away any of the I'm doing something I'm not supposed to, or has that never factored into it for you? It's never been like,
no.
I'm doing a naughty thing.
No, it's never been that. It's always been, this is stupid that this is legal. I can't believe that this is legal and alcohol is legal. Or I can't believe that this is illegal and alcohol is legal.
Yeah.
Like to me, I mean, not that alcohol should be illegal, but I just find alcohol to be so much more disruptive in people's lives in so many ways that I'm just like, why? But, there's all sorts of theories, and I don't know if they're, I believe there is a lot of factual evidence to back up that marijuana is illegal for purposes of like racism, like it puts a lot of men of color in jail for the stupidest shit.
Right. If cops find people with a tiny amount, it gives them an excuse.
Right. Exactly. So, and it behooves whatever our system is to keep those people in jail. Anyway, that's
cool.
A whole other
cool.
thing.
So my last question in this segment is I want to play a little bit of make believe. So
Okay.
you know a lot about marijuana. You believe in marijuana. You think it is a good and positive force. I want to imagine if you were able to create like a kids show to teach kids
Yeah.
that marijuana is okay. So if you could have a show like that,
Yeah.
and you were like the host, and it was a kids show,
Uh-huh.
what would you want it to be called? What would the kids show be called?
Well, I think it would be based on this awesome book, sort of a kid's book I saw once called "It's Only a Plant."
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be
it'd
something
called
like that.
It's Only a Plant with Courtney McClean.
Yeah, It's Only
Would
a
you
Plant.
have any little cartoon animal friends or people dressed up in big foam suits as animals who also like marijuana?
Sure.
What kind of marijuana animal friends would you like?
There would definitely be a badger because I'm newly obsessed with badgers. And I think that there would probably be like the big rat from Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay.
But maybe he would be like hippied out or something.
So what would the rat from Chuck E. Cheese represent? Would he represent taking weed too far?
I think that he would represent like just one of the ways you could turn out on weed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the badger would have a more positive message of like, look, I'm a badger and I'm fine. Look at this spray weed in my
Sure.
mouth.
I don't know. I guess the badger would just be there to remind you to be aggressive. And to not get too complacent.
Okay.
I mean, this is where the badger is in my life right now, Joseph.
Okay,
like,
so the badger is your personal symbol to be aggressive, to go out there and win.
Yeah. To
Good.
go out there and win and to, and to be aggressive with like standing up for yourself and all that other good stuff too.
Okay.
And sometimes pot, it's not a lie. Pot can make you unmotivated and can make you complacent. That I think is a result of overdosing.
Right.
But yeah, the badger will remind you, it'll be like, you don't need to be aggressive with your pot use. Be aggressive with your work and still enjoy. But then the badger, sometimes the badger needs to take the edge off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and then the badger would just chill with the rat on the couch.
Maybe.
And the couch would probably talk too, right?
This really is starting to sound like a cartoon I was talking about making with an old comedian friend like 10 years ago. It's really weird. Anyway.
So can you make up the theme song since you can sing to It's Only a Plant?
Don't worry, kids, you'll have your chance. When you're 18, you can smoke the plant. But from now on, it's just gonna be mom and dad. But don't worry, it's only a plant.
Do you smoke weed?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I smoke occasionally. Yeah.
In college, like every day. Now maybe once a month. I'm too busy. I get paranoid and feel like I should be doing things.
I'm a teacher and I smoke occasionally, which sometimes I get down on myself a little bit about, but I still like it. I don't know, I feel that I have some sort of like social responsibility as an educator, and I always tell my kids, don't smoke weed, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go home tonight and smoke some weed. So.
Do you have a medical marijuana card?
Yes, I do.
What do you prefer to do? Smoke, edibles?
Smoke ganja tea. Yeah. That's about it.
Do you vape?
No, not yet. I need to though. Yeah. Better for your lungs.
Do you think it should be fully legalized?
I do. Yeah. If alcohol is, then yeah.
I do. I think it should be totally legal.
If you could name a strain, what would you call it?
Mona Bear, because that's the nickname for my dog.
I think I would call it the lox, because that is my favorite thing to eat when I'm stoned, lox and bagel.
Okay, if you could smoke with anybody, who would you smoke with?
If I could smoke with a famous person, it would be Woody Allen and Spike Lee. I would ask them why they beef so much. Yeah. Spike Lee and I like Woody Allen and I like Spike Lee. So I just want to figure out why. Them two are like the greats of New York cinema.
Why do you think they do?
I have no idea. That's why we were smoking us. Yeah. Truth come out when you smoke,
Okay, if you could smoke with anybody, who would you smoke with?
Snoop Dogg, of course.
How about you?
The Bernie Sanders. I don't know why. That man is just awesome. And I can't say sexy, but sometimes he's a little sexy too. I think I might hit on him if I was high. I want to see a picture of Snoop Dogg and burning one down. That'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
We're going to move on to our How Obsessed Are You questions. I ask these questions of everyone on the podcast. Do you think about weed every day?
Yes. Oh,
You
yes.
fucking moron. Of course I do.
Yes.
And you have for many years, since your first encounter? Since you...
Oh,
since
no.
Since Blue Pipe Man?
I'd say I've thought about weed every day whenever it is in my house. And recently, that's just been within the past 4 or 5 years.
Right.
It's been in my house every day.
But right now you're part of the industry too.
Right now I'm part of the industry as well. But yes,
Yeah,
I mean,
you're Bakey Crocker. So
I
yeah.
will wake up and I wake up and I'm like, how long do I wait to have my first smoke?
Cool.
Or, yeah.
Have you ever had a dream about weed?
Maybe. I don't know. I
Do
don't
you-
think I have.
Are you
actually.
a vivid dreamer?
I have been a vivid dreamer. One of the things about marijuana, though, if you smoke it a lot, it takes your dreams away. Yeah, it kind of like takes your dreaming away.
It takes your dreaming away.
Yeah, it was just kind of a bummer because dreams are cool.
Yeah. Is it just because you're sleeping so peacefully that you don't actually remember
I think
them?
it's actually a lack of REM sleep. So
Okay.
it's something that you don't really, I mean, if you take it for insomnia, that's one thing, but it's sometimes you don't want to like smoke a big old bowl before you go to sleep. I will notice that my dreams will, well, I feel like they come back like in the morning, like after I wake up and then go back to sleep or something.
Okay.
Maybe that's just how dreams work. I
Yeah.
don't know. Anyway.
Okay. Would you confirm or reject a Supreme Court justice nominee based on their opinion of weed?
No, I don't think so.
So
It's-
the legalization isn't that...
It is important to me. I mean, if he was like absolutely not no weed, then he probably also is absolutely not no abortion.
Yeah.
Like I'm way more concerned with women's reproductive
Yeah.
health.
So imagine it was like a cool judge. She was up for it. She believed in all of the progressive things that you believe in, except for she was just like, nope, pot's the devil. Would you be like, I'll go
No.
for it?
Yeah, I'd probably be like, but we'll turn her.
We can fix that.
Yeah, we'll be like, nah, you know what? Somebody give her a honey bun.
That is an excellent solution. Give her a honey bun. Would you like, if you were to be married, when or if you were to be married, would you like a wedding dress made out of smokable hemp?
Shit, yeah. That would be awesome. What a great way to end your reception. You're like, all right, guys, here we go. Let's
Come
smoke
on.
this shit. Like, that would be such a wonderful tradition. Yeah, that would be great.
So you'd be up for that. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
totally.
Would you get a weed-related tattoo?
Yes. Wait,
Do
would
you
I?
have one?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Do you have any tattoos?
Yes, I have one. It's the Uffington horse. It's on my upper back, which is a big chalk etching on the side of a hill in Oxfordshire, England. I got
Okay.
it because it's on the cover of the album English Settlement by XTC, and
Okay.
they were one of my very favorite bands. They're still pretty much one of my very favorite.
Okay.
But would I get a weed related tattoo? Yes, I would, but I don't think it would be obvious. Like I would, what I would get is like maybe the little hexagonal molecule like
Oh, yeah.
like diagrams of
You would
it,
get like
something
the
that.
science of weed.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
I would get that.
Do you have any idea where you would put the science of weed?
The science of weed. I'm really into I like the arms.
Okay.
I like arm tattoos.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Would you break up with someone who hated weed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's part of my life.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if they are not down with weed, and I'm not going to change that. Like, I might slow down on weed a little bit, but I can't date somebody who's like, I can't have you smoking weed.
Yeah. How about if it's somebody who's like a big old heavy drinker, but just like, yeah, weed's not my thing. I prefer to focus on alcohol. But was not judgmental about it, but was
Right.
not interested in just like, yeah, it's not for me. I don't want to try honey bun.
If they're a heavy drinker and it's a problem, then no.
that was
them.
perhaps poorly phrased.
Yeah.
Would you like an alcoholic boyfriend was not what I meant to ask.
Oh,
but I
right.
just meant if it wasn't coming from any sort of place of judgment of like, hey,
They're
I
just
use
not
this other
involved.
thing. I just never but
Yeah,
I don't want to
they just
do
don't
weed.
partake.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't care.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
as long as they don't care.
So it's about the judgment.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
definitely about the judgment and their comfort level. If they're comfortable with me doing it, but they're like, nah, it's not my inebriate. Then yeah. I mean, because I'd much rather, if I'm at a party, I'd much rather smoke a joint than, do a shot.
Okay.
I mean, well, I'll do a shot.
You'll make time for both.
Yeah. Shotgun a beer, let's say. Although I do that too, but anyway.
You're open-minded like that.
Sure.
The final question of the How Obsessed that I ask everybody, it's a weird one. If you could not smoke weed without you or someone you love first being punched in the crotch, would you still smoke weed?
Being punched in the crotch?
Yeah.
That's not even a big deal. Yes. And you know what? It could be me. Like, that's not fun for women either, but it is just a pubic bone. So it's like, I would take it. And you know what I would do? I would smoke a really heavy indica to relieve the pain.
So why is indica the best crotch punching weed?
Well, indicas are the body high.
Okay.
So they're the ones that like relieve your body pain.
Okay.
Yeah. You can. Yeah, they're the indica couch.
All right, that's great. I asked people to make a noise to sum up their obsession. Can you make a noise that sums up your obsession? So tension and release.
Sure.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I have been rating people's obsessions on the podcast. So it's 7 is the number. And then to give it flavor, I give it a 7 something. So I'm going to decide out of 7 honey buns, how many obsessed are you? And I think I want to say 5.5 honey buns obsessed with weed.
Yep. I thank you. Well, I mean, because I'm like, am I that? And I didn't even get to my notes that I had written down.
And that's very obsessive.
I did some studying today, but it's so fascinating. I really highly recommend if anyone's curious, just like look up like what is a cannabinoid.
Yeah.
And look up like what is cannabis, and there's so much information out there now. Yeah.
Cool. Let's open your book and share one fact.
Okay.
Because you took the time.
Oh, sure.
So-
Okay. Let's see. Cannabinoid receptors have been found in mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles.
So that means all the animals
Pretty
are
much.
ready to get stoned.
Yeah. And you can get your cat and your dog high.
Even the birds in the sky want to be high. Aw, that's
They don't know
lovely.
it,
Yeah, that's a
But
song
their
for your
brains,
kids show.
even the birds in the sky want to be high. I love it. That's great.
So plug yourself. Where can people find you on social media? Anything else you want to have people directed toward?
Sure. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Dirty Curls.
Yeah.
And then I'm on the web at CourtneyMcClean.com. Courtney, CourtneyMcClean.com. And I've got stuff coming up. Thank you so much for having me on
absolutely.
today, Joseph, because this has been like, I've had like a very low key past couple of months, and I feel like this is sort of like me shooting out of a cannon.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so if you're in Los Angeles, look for Dirty Curls performances because
Totally.
you'll be
I'll be playing
performing
my
soon.
stuff around.
Cool. So final questions that don't have anything to do with your obsession, but they can if you want. If you were a sandwich, what kind of sandwich would you be?
Oh, goodness. I love sandwiches.
That's good that you love yourself.
I think that I would be a BLT with some
Ooh.
really like awesome San Francisco sourdough, like artisan shit. That bacon would be crispy and not too much of it.
Yeah.
Heirloom tomatoes, a little bit of salt and pepper. And I mean, give me some green romaine lettuce, and it would be some delicious aioli on there. That's the kind of sandwich I would be.
Now, is that just your favorite sandwich that you described very well?
Yeah,
How
probably.
is that you?
How is it me? I don't know. It was just the first thing that came to my head. I'm like, just say something, Courtney. It's a podcast. You got to just fill the dead air.
That tells me something. Fill the dead space with amazing descriptions of BLTs.
Honestly, I guess that's still my favorite is a pizza, because that's like an Italian sandwich.
I accept that as an answer. My favorite sandwich is a pizza. Fuck you. Fuck the concept of sandwiches. I don't care. I think that's great. Next question. If you could grow an extra limb, would you choose an arm or a leg?
I would choose an arm.
I sense you've thought of a reason why.
Well, I think that I feel like just come on. I mean, that means that I have 3 hands. That's a lot more coverage, if you know what I'm saying.
For banjo playing, right?
For banjo playing,
You know,
exactly.
for banjo
Oh my
playing.
God, I would be the Eddie Van Halen of banjos.
3-armed Eddie Van Halen banjo playing. The last question for everyone on the podcast is, what is happiness?
Oh yeah, I remember this. That you asked that. I think that happiness is just like not really caring about what other people think, like not even considering how other people are perceiving you, and just like being like loving yourself,
Right.
and then being accepting of others, because that, yeah.
Right, just saying, I'm a pizza and I don't care if you're looking for a sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking pizza.
I'm a pizza, and that's cool. I'm okay with it. If you're not, that's not my problem.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That is our podcast.
You've been listening to Obsessed. Joseph Scrimshaw and his guest shared some stories with the rest. Rate 5 stars if you're impressed.
All right, so another fun pot fact is that there's 2 receptors that they found. There's the CB1 in the brain, which is in the basal ganglia limbic system, which is where the hippocampus is. And then there's the CB2, which is in the immune system. And there might be a CB3. They just haven't found it yet.